Good afternoon. I'm Mike Graham, the president of Midwestern Securities and your host of the Banking on Growth podcast. With us today, we have two great guests. We have Professor Stephen Kerr from Bradley University, who's also a CPA, and we have Kennedy DeWitte. Kennedy is a student at Bradley University, who's also one of our summer interns. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, great to be here.
Glad to have you both with us. And I'm glad to have this conversation happening between Midwestern Securities, a great Central Illinois institution, and Bradley University, another awesome Central Illinois institution. And I look forward to the conversation that we're going to have. Stephen, will you introduce yourself and your role at Bradley University to our guests, please?
I'd be happy to, and I'll keep it short. I always joke when professors, when you're used to talking in 90-minute blocks, that keeping something brief is a real stress. But anyways, going back to the start of my career, I did my university education in Canada, in Edmonton, the University of Alberta Business School, and started my career as a CFO of several companies up there. And then mid-career, I did my PhD at the University of Alberta, became a Canadian CPA, and then immigrated to the U.S. in 2000. Naturalized a few years ago. Proud to be here. So in the U.S., I'm now a U.S. CPA as well. So really appreciate some of the cross-border tax issues that go on for people. So in terms of my career, I've taught at the University of Nevada at Reno, and now at Bradley. So I wasn't always an accountant. I went to university to be a priest, and then I found my lifelong love for ballroom dancing was discovered in my first year. A few other things, and so this is one of the reasons I'm a big believer in experiential learning, which I'm sure we'll talk about today. There's one thing to have thoughts in your head, but that has to be tempered by real experience, real interactions. And so I started with theology, and then I did music, and then I ended up in accounting. Was my third major going on. So that's a little about me. My role at Bradley, I joined Bradley in 2008. So I've been there for 16 years now. It seems time has gone by very, very quickly. The last 7 years, I've served as the chair of the accounting program, and I also served as chair of the finance program for a time in there. And so the accounting and finance departments work very, very closely together. So that's my current role at Bradley.
That's great. Will you give our audience a little more background on who Bradley is, the size of the school, that sort of thing?
Be happy to do that. Bradley is located in Peoria, Illinois. It was founded in the 1800s by Lydia Moss Bradley, a woman. She was richest woman in the world at one point, but here in Peoria, and she founded Bradley as her lasting legacy. So Bradley's thrived from that start. We currently, I'll say, just in terms of round numbers, we're about 5,000 students. Roughly 4,000 undergraduate students that are mostly traditional students in residence on campus, and then we have 1,000 graduate students plus or minus. A lot of that in business, engineering, data analytics was where the bulk of the graduate student. Nursing, I should mention, are very strong. But those are mostly online and distance ed.
A great organization, and we're thankful to have them and you in our community.
Thank you.
Thank you. And one of your best students, Kennedy, will you introduce yourself to our audience as well?
Yeah, like you said, I'm a student at Bradley. I'm going into my junior year, and I'm double majoring in accounting and finance, so I get to see both of those programs. Bradley has been amazing for me. I've thrived at it. The class size and the school size, like around 5,000, has really allowed me the chance to get to know my professors, and it has helped me a lot. Things like etiquette dinners and job fair is actually where I met you guys. So it has led me to a lot of great opportunities. And then over the summer, like you said, I'm interning here at John Graham and Associates, and it has also been very amazing so far. Really get to see what the advisors here do on a day-to-day basis. So that has been the best part. And I really enjoy the culture here. Very team-oriented. So I will definitely be looking for that in my future.
Well, selfishly, hopefully you've already found that in your future. It's been a great experience, and we want to keep you connected to our companies as well, if that's the path that you go down. But that just speaks to the caliber of program and individual that Bradley University is presenting. And let's dive into that a little bit. It seems like it was about getting a piece of paper, right? Getting kids through, getting a piece of paper, connecting them. It seems to me that there's been a reawakening in higher ed recently of let's create a practical connection with industry. Let's get people ready for for their futures. Let's train on the liberal arts skills, but let's have a more real connection and recognize there's a huge shortfall in the financial services industry, whether it's the security side or the accounting side. And there's already a shortfall, and there's 40% of the workforce that's going to retire in the next 10 years or something like that. So Stephen, how has Bradley recognized that and stepped up to create great candidates like Kennedy and trained them to be ready for industry?
Yeah, well, thank you. And it's a great question to be able to answer in a positive way. You know, I think you're right. The environment has changed noticeably, I think, to the public in terms of what a university degree means. But in my time in higher ed, it's continuously changing. And, you know, it's employers like you that we have touch with that that help universities stay active. So I think if you went back 30 years ago when I was an undergraduate, you know, you get your degree, you'll get a job, and you're on your way. Well, it's quite different. It's quite different now. You know, employers are looking for students that are, we use the tagline, ready for business. Students shouldn't be just well educated and well rounded, and then they'll pick up the professional training as they go. Employers need that, and university education's expensive. So it's 4 years at least of your life that you're devoting to that, and you want it to be practical. So one of the ways that we change constantly at Bradley is both within the college and within the departments. We have very active advisory boards that are made up of experienced graduates and more recent graduates that are actually doing the work that graduates will do. And they make a time commitment a couple times a year to spend a day or two with us, and they keep us in touch with what students need, and we help them in turn, like how do companies have to onboard students differently. Today's student is different than one that was graduating even five years ago. If you think of the environment pre-COVID to now, very, very different environment. So how do we stay close and get students? If you were to look at our curriculum from 10 years ago, a student looking at our curriculum from 10 years ago to what we have today, courses are different, the descriptions are different, the materials are different, completely refreshed. And Kennedy, I'd be interested to hear what Kennedy says on this, because we, the program specifically that she's in terms of the certified financial planning program, that didn't exist 4 years ago. But but we noticed that we were placing a lot of the CPAs that we were graduating were including personal financial planning in their portfolio of where their career was going. But we noticed a lot of our finance students, like up to half of our finance students, were going in that direction. So we've got to change curriculum. So it's a completely different curriculum than was there. And so, you keep your ear to the ground and you think, young men and women are trusting us to guide them into their career. So we stay accountable to the community and people like yourself on our advisory boards. That like, where are things? What do we need to be doing? And make sure that we stay on the leading edge. And the other way we do that is that all of the accounting faculty, but almost all of the faculty overall are all licensed practitioners. We generally don't hire somebody that did a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, a PhD, and then they're in the classroom. Those people are clever. I've got nothing against them, but so I don't want to come across that way. But our particular thing is we have in our classroom people that have actually done it. I've been a chief financial officer. Our tax professor has been practicing in tax and being before tax courts. And right across the board, everybody's actually done what it is that they're teaching. So that gives you a little bit of a flavor of how we stay connected. So it's a little different than a more of a research-based university.
Right. Yeah, it does. Sounds very practical. You've got an advisory panel who's on the streets, living it every day. You've got smaller class sizes, probably being a smaller institution with 5,000 students, like you mentioned, allows for a good connection with the professors and the students, and communicating and observing student success and modifying accordingly, being able to be flexible and put the program out that's a very strong and competitive program. It sounds like kind of a great mix of things that just have been coming together with hard work at Bradley.
Is that resonating with your experience, Kennedy?
Yeah, very much so. All of the professors that I've had have gone into the field and worked a few years before coming to teach. So hearing their stories and knowing that they have actual experience is very important when they're teaching us, so we can believe what they're telling us.
So I've got some more questions for you here as well, Kennedy. But before we get into those, will you tell us a little bit more, and maybe this is a co-op question for Kennedy as well, but tell us a little bit more about the CFP program. I assume it came from just kind of your ear to the ground and interacting. That's where it came from. So there's an opportunity for this. There's a shortfall in the industry. It's great living wage jobs, great career paths, meaningful careers with excellent income potential and quality of life that can come with the careers. So there's a need in the marketplace. It's an attractive place to work. So we built this. Is that kind of how it came about? And if so, where are you at in the process of building it? And if not, correct me.
Yeah, no, happy to speak to that. We've had a finance program for decades that's been very successful, and an accounting program that's been successful for decades, but we keep our ears to the ground in terms of where students are going. And so it's always a bit messy, Michael. There's a sense of, you want to be strategic and guide and influence students that come to you to places where they'll be successful. And on the other side, you're also listening to what recent graduates are saying and where your graduates are actually landing, regardless of the degree and training they've had. So we noticed maybe about 5 years ago, we had a finance degree that had lots of electives in it, and students could sort of find their way. And realized we needed to tighten that up just to be better manage our resources. The messy part is when we want to give good guidance to the students, but the other part of it is listening to where the students go. And we were noticing a lot of students were heading into banking, personal financial planning, and a lot of our students shifted from going to big national audit firms to local accounting practices that were very much financial and personal advisors. So we approached the CFP organization maybe about 4 years ago. And what's your curriculum? And there's a few programs where you can get the CFP certification at the graduate level online. There's almost nobody doing it at the undergraduate level. So we decided to construct a major that would qualify the students that when they were done, they had credit for the comprehensive exam, and then they just had a few work experience and licensing things to cross off, and they would end up finishing their degree, but with a professional designation. And I think in today's world, when university is so expensive, even though there's a high demand for these students, you want to have them with everything checked off, so that when they get into the workplace, they can actually they've got the credential and can go forward. So the Bradley for the program Kennedy's in this regular, there's like 4 tiers to that. There's sort of the general liberal arts core that most universities have, and I think we're really good at that. Our liberal arts and science colleges is fantastic in terms of providing that critical thinking and social awareness. And then in the business school, we have a further set of skills that we think anybody that has going into business, has a business degree, should understand. The principles of all the areas, how strategic planning fits together, where does marketing fit, where does operations fit, where does law fit, all those things. And then the third level is a core of 5-6 courses that they all take in terms of finance fundamentals, and that includes the basics of bookkeeping, how financial statements work, how are portfolios constructed, how does corporate finance work. And then on top of that, for the fourth level is the 5 specific courses that are the curriculum for the CFP exams. And there's a tax class, and they're like estate planning. There's how to do plan. There's a capstone course focuses on doing a plan for clients. There's a how does individual investing work. There's a course in there on dealing with clients. And so those build. So when a student's Kennedy's and just starting into that home run on that, we really feel that there shouldn't be anything happening where they don't feel professionally prepared. Of course, experience always helps. It gives you confidence, but there shouldn't be any aspect of the job or the profession. So the degree came about by seeing where students were going, seeing where the market need, and did we have the faculty that had the expertise to do that, and we did. We did have that. And then, the third leg of that was partnering with the folks that provide the CFP credential and working with them and getting a curriculum that works for them. And then we've had a whole cluster of local people come to be guest speakers and come speak to the students about what careers are really like, and that's really helped with students sort of get their mind wrapped around a really clear thing. So I don't end up with many conversations with students saying, "Boy, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with my degree." We probably overdo it to the other side. They know really where we're going. Does that hit on what you were?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great background. Thank you. All of our financial advisors follow the CFP process. not all of them have their CFP. We encourage it. We think it's just an incredible place to build off of. It's a great knowledge center, great understanding. It's a very well built academic program, and it's very applicable. I received my undergrad, and then I wanted to get my CFP, but back in the 90s, it was in central Illinois. I would get a shipment of books, maybe 5 books. They'd be UPS'd to my house. And once I signed for it, I had maybe 3 months to read the books and to show up at a testing facility where they would check me in. They would make sure I didn't have any materials. And then you'd take the test there in the testing facility. I loosely call it a testing facility. And then you'd get your results. And then you'd have about 2 weeks before the next shipment of books would show up at your house. And you'd have, 5 more books, and you'd have 3 more months, and then you'd show up. And then after you successfully completed all 5 series, then you took the board exam. I took a cram course in Chicago. I went to a hotel for 5 weeks, and they had daily cram courses. And I did that cram course, which was great. It pushed me over the edge, and then I showed up at the actual board exam in April of 2000. So, it's just a completely different situation, right? Such an accommodating academic structure to have that collaborative experience with other students and professors going through it, instead of working at your kitchen table on your own. And Kennedy, the place that was the testing facility was Kinko's. It was Kinko's off of University in Peoria. And the only time that Kinko's is quiet is like 2 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. And so I would show up at Kinko's at maybe 4 a.m. with headphones or little, headphones, I guess. And I'd sit there at the computer. The guy who was running the printing machines would greet me, and he'd log me in and make sure I didn't have any materials. And I'd put my headphones in, and I tried to avoid or just ignore the noise of the copy machines running in the background. And I had to make sure I was out of there by 7, because by 7 a.m. retail traffic would start walking in, and that just starts getting distracting. So that's the way that it used to be. And prior to that window, when I was studying and taking the exam, the generation prior to us didn't have a board exam. So it was basically just get through the 5 components of it without a cumulative board exam. But the board exam, it's robust, and it requires a lot of effort. It's meant to make sure the standards are high. And I think the CFP board has done a great job with it. And I think Bradley's doing a great job with it. Kennedy, tell us a little bit more about your experience. Why did you choose this?
Honestly, I came in to Bradley not knowing what I wanted to do, but it very much worked out for me, because I would much prefer to get my pass my exam that way instead of what you did. But I came into Bradley, wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. They had a lot of tools for me to go to with Bradley's business program, and take an exam to try to determine what my skills would be. And I scored highly in finance, so I was like, well, let's try it. And accounting I really stuck onto, because I really just liked the courses. And I'm very glad I did so, because now I understand, the balance sheet, different sheets that make sense and how companies run, which I think is very helpful in finance. But from my understanding, the CFP program is very new to Bradley, so I'm very excited to learn more about it as I go. I don't know much about it yet, but it is very helpful for me to get it right at the end of graduating.
Yeah. Thanks, Kennedy. Yeah. Make sure you come and see us as you have questions. We'll help you with that. Michael, there was 2 things you said that triggered for me, if I might just loop back for a second and ask. So you don't have to be a CFP major at Bradley to take those 5 courses. Bradley will enroll people, as we call them, non-degree seeking students. And we can certainly work with anybody that's been in the system for a while and wanted to go through face-to-face instruction and mentoring to finish that education process and be able to move forward to the exam. If you've got people that are just stuck in that online and that disconnect there isn't for them. I just wanted to say,
It's good to know.
We welcome those kind of non-traditional students, and we're getting a lot of students actually coming back that want to spend a semester or 2 semesters retooling that are into their career, but they can do it part time. So I just wanted to look back and say there that's a possibility. And there may be people watching this video that feel that they're in that way and want to retool in terms of personal finance, accounting, or corporate finance. And there are ways that we can do that. You don't have to be a degree-seeking student to take advantage of all of that.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks for pointing that out. It is great framework for somebody in the financial services industry. Of course, I mentor and coach a lot of financial advisors, and often they ask, where did you learn this stuff? Well, you learn it on the job, you learn it in interaction, you learn it through the certification process, the SIE, the Series 7, the 66, the life and health studies. You learn it in your undergrad. But one of the key places was in the CFP program. And there's a market difference. It shortens your learning curve. It prepares you that much better for being impactful for clients, real life situations. Absolutely.
And the other thing we emphasize, and I'm going to say this for anybody that's thinking of getting their designation, there's a difference between getting the designation like you've got and getting a degree. And traditionally we would look at a degree as saying, I had a program of education and I was competent at a point in time. If you got your degree in 2001, well, yeah, you were competent in 2001, but there's no evidence you're still competent, right? The half-life of financial information is short sometimes. And depending on your personality, it's shorter for others. But having a designation, like the CFP, like the CPA, what that does is it denotes a commitment to continuing education. And so what comes out from you, while the program is very practical and gets you there, somebody that has a designation on top of their degree is indicating to the public and to those that know that they've maintained their knowledge. They're doing a certain amount of ongoing professional education. They're staying current. And for me, that's why I emphasize to students the importance of, okay, pick where you're going, and then make sure we're adding your preparation to get to designation. That's why we cleaned up a lot of our majors 4 or 5 years ago. That they were all heading towards where's the designation that you're going for, because then you're showing employers that commitment to remaining current. And I'm sure we've all heard our horror stories of somebody getting advice from somebody that's 20 years out of date into something. And they feel like firms like yours, where there's that commitment, that's really important when you're saying, okay, the team is doing that. And Kennedy, you're encouraging and supporting having the designation. And I think one of the things we have to do as financial professionals is protect the public. And one of the ways I think we protect the public without sounding too parental or overbearing on that is by having designations and licenses that show a commitment to staying current. We never think of going to a medical doctor or dentist for a procedure without knowing that they have their license, right? And it's the same with the CFP. Why would you take financial advice from a team where people weren't showing that commitment on top of their basic education to stay staying current. So that's one of the things that makes CFP really attractive to us at Bradley, and why we wanted to encourage students to
I agree. There's so many licenses, and it's alphabet soup out there. And they can be, you participated in a webinar for an afternoon, or you went to a class for a weekend. But we want to focus on the ones that are real meaningful and impactful. And I appreciate your comments on the designation and the effort that needs to go into staying sharp and being a lifelong learner and a professional that's differentiated in the marketplace.
Yeah, it's important. What you're selling yourself short, right? The educations, but it's that commitment to ongoing learning.
Yeah.
I'm instilling that right from the beginning of a career. I just think is transformative.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So Kennedy, let's talk a little bit about as a soon-to-be young professional, current student, but the next couple of years, things will change a lot. You'll wrap up your academic career for the time being. You'll transition into your professional career, and you'll continue to learn. And as I tell our boys, the path forward doesn't have to be straight, but it needs to be forward. And there'll be lots of things to navigate. Right, the future is bright and it's exciting. Tell me how you feel about it as a student and looking ahead at this point in your life.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that the sooner and the more willing you are to get a designation as a student, it shows your employer a lot. Personally, I want to take the SIE this year or the beginning of next year, the academic year anyway. And that's just, I know it's very competitive when you're going to get jobs, and it just shows your employer that you're going to have an edge on whoever else you're competing against. So I completely agree with both of you.
What's important to you about your future career and or workplace?
To me, I also want to be around people that hold similar values and a good chemistry with the team in the workplace. I think having leaders that want to lead and want to keep improving their leadership skills is very important too, because a lot of times you see that if that starts to go, then everyone else is being held to a lesser standard. So I think that's very important as well.
Wow, I love it. I mean, I think that's a very wise perspective. We've got to maintain a high standard. We've got to fight for altitude. My cousin loves the mountains, and he would go hiking in the Rocky Mountains, and he'd say, don't find yourself gradually walking down the hill. It's easy to go downward and lose altitude. It's much harder to regain that altitude. So fight for that. Fight for it with that standard. Tell me about that perspective. Your classmates, your colleagues. Is there generally that same perspective? What I heard in you just now is very mature, and having a high expectation for yourself. Is that common in your classes at Bradley University?
Yeah, I would say so. Very common. I think Bradley really puts you in programs where it's very competitive, and when you're surrounded by people competing, you're going to try your hardest to stick out. So doing that, your professors and everyone around you pushing you to have leadership positions and do well on exams and outperform other students keeps you responsible for doing well.
Wow, I'm
Yeah,
impressed.
they definitely expect something higher of you, which helps all the students.
Kennedy, if you don't mind, would you mind commenting on your Accounting 290 experience, which I think is really, really crucial to that, to what you're speaking to, and might share a little bit more with the audience.
Yes, so Chandra Johnson, one of my absolute favorite professors at Bradley. I don't know if she's the only one that does it, but we have a course where 3 to 4 professionals in the accounting fields and finance fields will come in and share their experience with all students with accounting majors and minors. So that includes a lot of finance students. And we get to ask them questions and hear about what their day looks like and if they love their job, parts they like, parts they don't like. And it's really the first time I think you get to see that many careers that you wouldn't even think about, and just kind of see yourself if that would be a good fit or not. And it's right around sophomore year usually, or junior year, that you do that. So it kind of either sets in, hey, this is a really good path for me. I think I'm going to love it, or maybe I need to look at something else. So right at the right time, and you get to hear about other people's experience. It's a really good course.
Yeah, no, thanks for saying that, because we have Chandra, Professor Johnson. She's really quite, I hear her say from time to time to students, you're 5 semesters away from being my professional peer. And you're maybe 6 semesters away from doing what these students, recent graduates are in fact doing. So you think your professors are tough. Well, just here's a reality. Here's a reality check. There's no answer book to go check when you're the workplace. So yeah, thanks for sharing that, Kennedy. That's a course I think as a university we're very proud of in terms of the impact that it has in terms of making things real. Yeah.
I would definitely recommend it for all students in the Foster College of Business. It really lets you learn a lot without having to go get internships at every single section.
Awesome. Well, this has been a great discussion. Very thankful for you, Kennedy, for participating with us, for you, Stephen, for participating and joining. Stephen, if there are people that would like to learn more about the programs at Bradley University or you, what are the best ways for them to reach out and stay connected or learn more?
Well, if you don't want to be really social, the Bradley webpage is a great place to go. It was recently completely redone. Our marketing and enrollment folks have done a fantastic job of updating and making sure it's easy to find things. But that's Bradley, so BRADLEY .edu will take you there, and there's a search button right at the top, and so you can hit finance, hit accounting, and it'll get you into the Foster College of Business, and you can pursue there. If they type my name in to the Bradley webpage, that will get them to my email as well, and I'd be glad to take phone calls or emails from anybody that's interested and needs more information, and connect them with the different faculty that could speak. We really do function as a very flexible team, or people really into the different aspects of the accounting and finance profession. So those would be the 2 ways I would suggest, but use the website as a connection. And you've got my email address, and if you want to put that up on the screen as well, I'll be happy to connect. Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, this has been great. Thank you again, Stephen. Thank you again, Kennedy. I really enjoyed our conversation. And through this conversation together, it's evident that Bradley's got something good happening over there with your financial planning and your finance department in general. So thank you for being part of the podcast today.
Thank you. You're welcome.
So we'll wrap up here on behalf of Midwestern Securities and all of us at the Banking on Growth podcast. Until next time.
This has been another insightful journey with Banking on Growth with Michael Graham and Midwestern Securities, a member of FINRA and SIPC. We appreciate your time. If you found value in today's discussion, consider subscribing for more thought-provoking discussions in the world of finance. Your support helps us continue to bring you quality insights. If you have a topic you'd like us to consider covering or have thoughts on one of our episodes, we'd love to hear it. Just email us at media@midwesternsecurities.com. Remember, the power to grow is within you. Thank you for being a part of the Midwestern Securities community. Until next time, stay inspired and keep banking on growth.